targeting any specific industry that we
It's a good question. We don't target specific industries, but we work really well with specific industries because not every industry is really ready for digitalization in the Philippines. So I think this is kind of one of the key things. So we work really well with technology companies, tech startups, because they're digital in mindset. Restaurants, food and beverage, some retail. So we do have naturally some tendencies to work well with certain industries that are probably the early adopters of digitalization, but we don't specifically target industries. We work with different types of businesses. I think what's important to us is working with companies that have that growth mindset, that really want to use what we produce to run the business better. Because I put the emphasis on process. What's special about us is we don't just passive accountants, which is what traditional accountants tend to be. Give me documents, I'll keep them, I'll bookkeeping, file taxes. Did you give me all your documents for the month? Is it really reflective of your financial operations? Am I missing information? Typically, accountants just take what they get. Here, we want to make sure we get everything so that the picture we give you at the end is valid, correct, and informative. So that requires customer to also change their process. Be diligent about making sure all documents are submitted on time. That if something needs to be accrued, I don't want to get too technical, but if some expenses need to be accrued because we don't get the invoice yet, but we actually use that service already. So there is, for us to really be successful and empower them, they have to play a part in providing that information on time. So I think that's really what makes us special, is for us to be able to empower them. There is a change management part from the customer side. We help them, we build those processes for them. Our app will send them reminders that, by the way, did you send us all the documents for the month? But there is really a need for them to play their part, because accounting is garbage in, garbage out, really. It's this type of industry.
Sure. How many human accountants do you have, and where are they working from?
We have 120 employees. I would think probably about 100 of them are accountants. The rest are, we have a development team, as I mentioned, technology team, R&D team. The large majority are 100. And they're all based here in around Metro Manila. They work hybrid. They come to the office twice a week. And then they work from home 3 times a week.
So these are mostly Filipino accountants?
Yes, 100%.
We're certified or
not everyone is a CPA. It's a very good question. All the team managers and most of the supervisors are CPA, but we don't only hire CPAs.
Based on the current trajectory.
You don't see anyone, so you don't.
Based on the current trajectory of the SME industry, how do you see your clientele growing over the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, I hope. I think the demand is there, right? There is the digitalization aspect, and in the Philippines, the digitalization aspect is ongoing. There is a need for it. This is a bit of a sensitive topic, but it's not an easy place to digitalize because a lot of the regulatory requirements are still kind of paper-based, offline. So we had to tailor our processes and our technology to accommodate offline to online or online to offline. So they remain compliant with their documentation obligation, but can still fully leverage technology to help them grow the business. So that's maybe kind of a bit of a barrier here, but a lot of businesses understand they need to digitalize and improve. So I think what we see is there's a big demand for what we do, and small, medium, and large. In a way, I think maybe we've been too silent about ourselves. When people find us, sometimes like, where have you been? I've been looking for this for years and I've never found you guys. So we do see a strong growth potential in the Philippines market.
Yes. Okay. So with the reliance on cloud accounting, how does CloudCFO ensure the security and confidentiality of sensitive financial data for SMEs?
Great question. So because we build our own technology, we're responsible for data security, and that's massive. That's super important. We work with people's financial data, financial information. So we follow best practices. Every data we receive, we store and we send is encrypted based on top-notch technology for encryption. We also perform multiple times a year what we call penetration tests. So we actually try to hack ourselves, see if we can. So this is kind of also an industry standard. So we just follow best practice industry standards all across. We only work with third-party applications that follow the exact same standards as we do.
Okay, so how customizable is your platform for businesses across different industries?
It's fully customized because we build processes tailored to each individual business. So when, if I may, I'll run you through a high-level customer journey. I think you were asking earlier, like, how do they find us? How do we talk to them? So first they reach out, we have a business consultation, and then they tell us, yeah, this sounds great, I really need this. Then they go to onboarding. During onboarding, some of our senior people will actually schedule multiple calls with them to understand their business. How do you make money? How do you spend money? What's essential assets for you? And then we build processes for them. Okay, based on what we understand for your business, this is what we need from you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And this is what we do with that information. Those procedures are then uploaded into our application and tracked going forward. We check, we monitor our ability to manage these processes together. So in a way, it's always tailored. We don't have a one-size-fits-all. Every process is tailored to the uniqueness of each business. Process and reports, even our financial reports, are tailored to each individual business based on what really drives their performance. So that's how we do this.
Sir, what country is your headquarters operation for this?
Mandaluyong.
This Philippines.
On EDSA.
Aside from Philippines,
We have an office in Singapore, and we are planning to open representation in the US next year, hopefully.
okay, sir. So aside from the services, do you have engaged? So do you have any plan to launch other services aside from the accounting? Sir?
It's a very good question because we have clients who ask us like, is there cloud marketing? Or is there cloud IT? And at the moment, no, because it's quite frankly, doing value-added services at scale requires really dedication to one expertise. And I think if we had more services, we'd probably be diluting our expertise and our focus. So at the moment, our primary goal is to really disrupt technology-empowered services and focus on the accounting segment for now.
Yes. Create more is only a few steps away from becoming a law, so that would mean that a lot of businesses will have to adjust with certain fiscal policies. So how will CloudCFO be able to adjust with the potential, and most likely will be adjusted thoroughly, especially when it comes to taxes? So do you have any preparations set on that?
So with taxes in general, we follow a tiered approach, right? We first want to know what's being planned, and then we want to know what are the laws that are going to actually change, and then almost as importantly, what are the implementation rules? Because quite often, what this means to us is we need to adjust processes, and we've built processes for 230 clients. Any tax upgrade requires us to fine-tune or tailor these processes differently. So yes, it is work because we then need to literally do workshops for hundreds of clients. We just had recently the change in invoicing for service companies, right? So now it's not OR anymore, it's sales invoice. We had to do multiple workshops, we have to build guides for a customer, not just adjust the processes that we built in place, but almost do all the educational works that is required for them to change the way they bill, the way they send documents. So this is where we come almost like an advisor, an educator, to help them adjust to that process. So we want to prep. We kind of want to know what's being prepped and how this impacts our customers. But often we can't really do much until the implementation rules are there, because even just from the law itself, you don't really know how it's going to be applied, and process adjustments really need to take into account the application.
How long does the process application usually take? So you mentioned we've shifted from OR to
Sales
invoice. So how long did most companies and clients adjust to that with the help of CloudCFO?
As soon as their law requires. I mean, we just, as soon as there is an update, we follow kind of multiple steps. First, we blast a newsletter and say, alert, here are the things you need to be mindful of. And then we have some people that are specialized, dedicated to kind of monitoring this and adapting it. But then all the account managers, we can't just rely on one person. All the team managers, we first do internal workshops so we know how this impacts our customers. And then each manager is responsible for rolling it out. So because we have a team of 120 people, we kind of spread the load. The first thing we want to do is first we understand the process changes and then pass on that information to operationalize it. And very quickly after that, we do workshops to our customers. So we first want to make sure managers can roll out the changes, and then we want to tell the customers what changes and kind of like tell them how this is impacting them. Like the service invoice was a big one. There are a few things in the upsell as well that how VAT was filed and how this impacted their cash flow. These we had to do like workshops to tell them about it. But we can move fast. I mean, within a month, we'll absorb that information and be able to do all these things.
In terms of service fees, how do you compare your company with other companies offering the same services in terms of services?
It's a wide range.
Yeah.
Like most professional services, right? You've got very cheap options and very expensive options, like law firms, for example, which base usually in expertise. We're not the cheapest because we don't want to be the cheapest, because when you work with very cheap, they're not compliant, there are a bunch of issues there. But we're also not very expensive. Like to give you an idea, I mean, every pricing is tailored to the needs and the size, but let's say some of our customers pay less than 20,000 pesos a month. Right? So it's not,
Yeah, even
which,
less.
even if they want to hire their own bookkeeper, it probably costs them more, right?
Yeah.
This is software
The low, entry.
Yes.
Starter.
Now, we have clients that pay us multiple times that based on their size. But at that point, it's much more complex. But I think we're talking about, like, say, a small company that has aspirations to grow. That's not a major investment to make sure that you have right financial information and things stay on track as you scale up.
Not bad.
Yeah, you're expecting more? We need to review your pricing.
You have a question.
You mentioned earlier that it's quite a challenge for digitalization in the Philippines, but more and more companies are actually adapting it. So, are you seeing this digital adaptation like working to your favor, or how will it work to your favor?
It does. I mean, obviously, because we're a cloud firm, right? Digital is our DNA in a way. So as the country adopts more digital, a more digital regulatory framework, this will help for sure. Because to a certain extent, there is a bit of a barrier, right? I mean, I still need to write my paper invoice. Like, okay, sure, I'll scan it and you'll put it on cloud and you'll give me a proper financial report, which you still need. But some people will say like, well, I still need, why can't we do everything on cloud? Well, you can't because regulation doesn't allow us to. So as things become more digital, I think some of the barriers to full digitalization of some processes would start kind of, lift off, right?
Which it's more of regulatory barriers.
I wouldn't call it barriers, they're just kind of things we have to work around, or not around, with, because we don't have a choice.
And then for your expansion plan, so you said around 80% of all the companies or of your clients are in the Philippines. So what are your expansion plans? You mentioned North America. Are there other countries?
Yes, so primary market will be North America, United States first, and then we'll probably look at Australia, New Zealand as a secondary bucket. Because proximity, they very much used to outsourcing as a market. I lived in Australia for a while, so I know the market a little bit. So we'll first focus on North America. In fact, to be honest, in our industry, it's almost like everyone needs accounting, right? If you run a business, you want it or not, you'll need it. So it's almost the ocean is probably too big for us to figure out, and I think we need to go back to what we were discussing earlier. Like sometimes you need to narrow, find an area in the U.S. because it's just too big, and so this is really about focusing to the right segment, to the right people, where you can add the most value. But in terms of growth plan, it's actually interesting because we, as I said, we were Philippines first.
Yes.
And then when we build that type of technology-enabled expertise, we realize that even in the US, this is not that available. Like, there are not many people trying to do what we do. And if they do, and they're US-based, they're gonna be really expensive. So we do see a big opportunity for us to kind of, and I love the BPO industry. A lot of friends who are BPOs, and they work really well. But it's not seen as a value-adding services. It's usually seen as a cost saving. So we come with a very strong value proposition and affordable cost. So we do see room for disruption in the global market as well. So I think the question is more like, okay, where do we focus our attention and our growth? More than like, are there opportunities out there? Because one of the key impacts here is being able to scale the team as well, right? We're done about hiring CPAs only. We don't always do that. Some of our best team members are not CPAs. What we do is we train people very, very intensively at the beginning because they're used to manual. They're used to kind of Excel and like paper-based, and so using a system end-to-end is not something they probably have experience with, regardless if they're CPA or not. So we have like tailored training programs. They have 5 years of experience or literally out of college, they'll need to do the same program because they don't have the end-to-end technology-driven experience anyway.
Sorry.
Yes.
What kind of industries do your clients usually come from, and are they the more small businesses that are most likely to, fail without your service?
Most likely, less likely to fail, you mean, or?
More likely to fail without your service.
That's a tough question. So I think our first segment in our portfolio, Philippines only, and I'm not talking global, Philippines only. First segment will be either technology-enabled companies, like say startups, fintech, e-commerce, or food and beverage industry, or like probably first and second, depending on the quarter. So restaurants, bars. And I like to take the restaurant examples because those need the financial insights. Because it's a complex business. You have inventory, you've got spoilage, you've got a lot of people paying you through POS system, point of sale system. So the financial management of restaurants is actually complex. And a lot of the time is people like, I'm a chef, I love food, I'm gonna start a restaurant. And then they realize, wait, hang on, what's going on here? Like, what's my inventory? Why does this add up? This doesn't make sense. So we have multiple stories where we help restaurants kind of readjust their strategy, understand what is working, what is not working. So that's a very strong example where we see value very, very quickly. Technology is another one, but tech companies are notorious for not making money anyways for a long time because they're just investing in software. So where we help them there is just making sure they're ready when they need to talk to investors and raise capital, because that's a key factor for them to succeed, have clean books and good financials. Yes.
Great more was mentioned earlier. How do these tax law changes affect CloudCFO as a business? Does it heighten demand for you? Does it complicate the process?
Depends on the tax change. It really depends on the case to case. In general, our objective, clients or non-clients, our objective is to educate, is to empower. So we have a lot of people look at our blogs on a monthly basis. And so it's not only clients, it's like we'd like to grow the ecosystem. We just want that ecosystem to thrive in a way. And we'll thrive with them when we do. But it's a major thing. Like, so we do acquire clients from tax updates. We like say, okay, here's the change. For example, there is a recent change that if you run a e-commerce store on Lazada or Shopee, you must register, right? We have tons of inquiries about like, how do I do to register? So this was a huge opportunity for us because people were completely off the grid now were forced to register and they were trying to find a solution to their problem. So that helped, and then you have tax updates that make things more complicated. The service invoice or the VAT payment on accrual for service companies that was recently launched will make the process more complicated for us. Case to case.
I'm also just curious,
Sure.
how much of your clientele is based in the NCR and how much of it's based?
Large majority. Large majority.
Do you have clients outside?
We do. Mostly hospitality, to be honest. Hotels, the tourist hotspots. So NCR is, and probably Cebu as a secondary, but majority of our business in NCR.
Are you hoping to maybe tap more outside of NCR or just whatever comes your way?
Alright, this is a tricky answer. How can I put this? What we see though is outside. I don't know if I can say off the record, but on the record, what we see outside of Metro is a lot more volatile tax management for businesses, which we don't tend to do. So in the provinces, things are a bit more wild in that sense. So so we'll need to target, which is why hospitality then, because hotels run by chains or a series of multinational, they'll need to do things right. But there's a lot more informality in the provinces outside sometimes. So we'll target cities, probably Cebu, Davao, like for sure there's a market there. But more prevention, like province oriented, will probably be a bit more less digitalized or less prone to digitalization at this stage.
That's off the record, right?
Well, the tax thing I'll probably put off the record, but the digitalization, yeah, we can say that digitalization in Manila is probably more advanced than in the more provincial areas, aside from the big centers. Oh yeah, sorry, no, we did, yeah, thanks for reminding me. So, but other services we provide, we now do business registration, so auxiliary services to accounting, but a lot of accountants do that. We just launched a corporate service team where we do business registration, renewals, and things like this to support the needs of our customers.
Thank you. Anyone else? Burning questions? All right. So thank you so much, Mika, for all the insights you shared with us today. And thank you to our friends from the media. We hope you enjoy this and that, for additional knowledge that, you maybe acquired about accounting, even like Tesla, the history about Henry Ford. So thank you again. And